Fellow Africans, brothers and sisters from creation, as we go into the project of establishing a new Africa that will reflect as the federal government of Africa, I would like to use this very message to speak about the situation of African leaders. And like you know, it is not possible to speak about political leadership without mentioning some aspects of the history that brought about the political situation in which leaders manage. But before I proceed, I would like to use this opportunity to tell you, say, anytime you come across my message, please pay more attention to the meaning of what I'm speaking and not the grammatical punctuations or the beauty of it. I am not good in grammar. We all cannot have the gift of oratory. Besides that, many great books in the world, among which is the Bible, was never written in the best of its grammar. But it conceals the great meanings, the great arcanium of life, which is very important for our human life, for understanding profoundly our human life. Now let me proceed into explaining to you the situation of African leaders. Many of you think that the African leaders are stupid and that they are not working. They are not doing what they're supposed to do. And of course you are right. Because when leaders take position of leadership, they should be ready to carry out the responsibilities attached to that very position. And if indeed you are not capable, you should vacate it for someone else. Unfortunately, because the system has been monetized and commercialized for selfish and sectarian benefits, every leader goes into leadership to satisfy himself primarily. That's why they are fighting with money and everything to be president. But let me use this opportunity to enlighten you about the situation of the president that most of you think are not working. The African presidents are working properly. They are powerful in the area of their obligations as much as I allow them to do. What you need to understand is that our physical world was created and controlled from the spiritual world, and that the spiritual world are very much involved in the events that shape our human history. Every time they establish a system, there are powers that are accorded to every section of leadership to help them manage their leadership or their leadership jurisdiction according to what is given to them. Leaders don't grab power by themselves. No human being takes power by the spiritual power of leadership by himself. Powers are defined from the divine world. And it is with those divine powers that every leader in the world is working. Now we know that historical events is part of what brings a system, a political system under which we live. We had colonization, and now we are in the era of neo-colonialism. The colonization, as you know, was a period when countries of the world were directly ruled by the imperialist masters, whereby they decide everything, until the time came when people began to fight for independence, and they eventually got it. And now we are in the era which are known as the era of neo-colonialism, because the full independence were not achieved during the period of independence. So, despite achieving the independence, the colonial powers continue to exercise significant control over their colonies, which is reflecting today as what is described as the neo-colonialism. So the duty of African presidents since after the colonization was to manage the neo-colonial era to the best of their ability. The primary obligation is to sit on the seat of leadership so as not to allow white man directly, the colonial masters, to come and control them directly. This is the role they are made to play, whilst the final end of colonization is being prepared. That final end had not come, but now it is coming through what we call the project of a new Africa, to be reflected in the federal government of Africa. And that is why the People's Movement for African Unity is created, of which I am the founder, to pursue that very objective and ultimately get it achieved. So the African leaders, there are two things with them: the primary mandate and the free will. The primary mandate of never to allow white man to come and rule directly, the African leaders are performing that duty powerfully. There is no African leader that is thinking of allowing white man to come and take over the country. Nobody is thinking of that. But the other area, which we call the area of free will in leadership, is where perhaps you may be getting African leaders judged to say some of them are tribalistic, some of them are corrupt. Those things is up to you. But I'm making this message to let you understand that the African leaders are working in their primary obligations according to the level of powers that are attached to their leadership jurisdiction. And they are not alone. All leaders of the world are working according to the power that was attached to their leadership jurisdiction. If you look at the world we are living today, it is shaped by the event of First and Second World War. Those events were what created the end of direct control. If you look at how things are going, that many countries of the world got their independence immediately after the Second World War. I know some people can talk about South America, which had their independence in 18-something, 19-something. Those areas were predominated by the same imperialist progenies, which got their independence earlier, like Brazil, Colombia, etc., and the United States, Canada, etc. But the bulk of the people that are colonized outside of the Europeans got their independence in the Middle East, in Asia, and in Africa, immediately after the Second World War. So the Second World War shaped the event. And that Second World War also shaped the event of all over the world. So when it ended, the powers were accorded to different territories to manage the neo-colonial era according to the best of their ability. If you look at the United States, it's not the leaders of today that shaped America. The leaders are there only for intellectual management of the established system. The same thing applicable to the president of Russia. Is managing the type and level of power that is attached to their leadership jurisdiction, and they can go more than that. Same thing with China, Israel, all countries of the world, including in Africa here. And the spiritual power is not something you can go and grab by yourself so that you can change what you want to change. You have to wait for the right time. And like I said, the African leaders had their misgivings of mismanaging their free will within the leadership time they have. That's where the issue of corruption or whatever can come in. But I'm not speaking about that. Those things are part of human. They're everywhere in the world. What I'm saying is that African leaders are working. The president of Russia is not better than the president of Equatorial Guinea. The United States of America president is not better than the president of Nigeria or the president of Pakistan or Russia. The difference is the level of power that is attached to the leadership jurisdiction. British Prime Minister is not better than the president of South Africa or Botswana. And the French president is not better than the president of Philippines. Everything is working according to the powers, whereby the world is evolving to a point where all these things may one day come to the end. That is the neo-colonial era that we are talking about, and which you are hoping to bring to an end. Because the world has come to a level where everybody must have peace. Imperialism is the cause of war. And while I'm speaking about our project of African unity, I'm talking about divine idea. Leaders of the world don't become powerful because they are the most intellectually gifted or the most physically powerful. They become whom they are in history because of the achievement they have made in history. And those achievements is because of the type of ideas that is identifying with those men. And the ideas are divine, not those men who grab it for themselves. They created it in the spiritual world and attached it to their incarnating soul personality. And when the time came, it began to manifest. Prophet Moses did not become powerful because he was the most powerful Jew or Egyptian. Kwame Nkrumah didn't become powerful for the same reason. Joseph Stalin, Chairman Mao, Fidel Castro, they didn't do those things because they're most intellectually gifted or the most physically powerful or they're rich people. They did that because of the idea, identifying with them. And this is the reason why you must never judge human being because of his riches or anything. You must always judge human being because of the type of idea that is identifying with them. Great ideas can be identified with a poor person. And all the people we think we see today as great men were never powerful. They were never great until they achieved their mandate. So when I'm speaking about African unity, don't think it's something that you can say, oh no, this man, I don't know him. He's not a millionaire. His father is not, they can't even talk nice English. That is why. It's not about that. It's about the idea. If you look at Joseph Stalin, he was never the most intellectually gifted. The man who established the state of Israel today did not have any of the qualities that the Jews admire so much. He wasn't a rabbi. He wasn't a prophet. He wasn't a mystic. He was nothing. Just, he had the idea identified with him. And he came and get the job done. Here is Israel, became powerful. The same thing with Kwame Nkrumah when he came here. He wasn't the most powerful man. Kwame Nkrumah could not even afford his daily bread well. But he got the job done. So when I'm speaking about African unity, I'm speaking about a divine idea that has been entrusted and which demands the participation of all Africans to get it done, because it didn't say People's Movement for Emmanuel Unity. It says People's Movement for African Unity. And therefore, it demands the power of our people not to come and serve my interest in my interest. Not to come and serve my interest, but for the sake of all of us. So God we hear about is about the idea he gives people. God doesn't fall from heaven and fall down here. So among those ideas he gave us a prescription on how to get the new Africa going. Give us what we describe as the mission statement, which states that we should unite and transform Africa into world preeminence using the collective energy and resources of the people without depending on the sitting government. And that we shall do according to that very prescription. But this can be seen in some other of our messages if you listen properly. I want to use this opportunity to tell you to never get discouraged because of our painful situations. The African problems will be solved, but we have to work hard for it. Even though God give you everything, you still have to work hard for it. God make it possible that you can eat rice, but you have to sow the rice. You can have children, but you must take up the labor. So we cannot sleep and wake up and have African unity that will solve our problem. Actually, big problems are the easier ones to solve when the right time comes and the right idea is given. Now we've got the right idea. It's not something we can do in the social media. I'm only using this medium to tell you that there is a project that demands your involvement. Please go to our website, www.pmau.org, and from there, get yourself involved. And finally, I'm using this very message to call the attention of African leaders and African intellectuals to please respond to this project by going to our website and see what we put in place, make contact with the organization, and we take it from there. I know that a lot of people have formed organizations and talking different things. Of course, it's part of it. It's part of the things that leads to great change, because it's an expression of the need for a change in our life. But not everybody had the correct idea entrusted to him. And when you look at the history of our independence, many people had been fighting for independence for many years, even before our independent generation were born. But that was an expression of the need to decolonize Africa, but not the power to do it. But it leads to the power of doing it. When the independent generation came, they get the job done. Now is the time to liberate Africa. We have the inspiration. Please give it attention. Get in contact with the organization if there is anything you don't understand, and we'll clarify you. I thank you very much.